In the heart of the city, amidst the ever-growing skyline of towering glass buildings, an aging apartment complex stood in eerie defiance. Riverview Heights was once a thriving residential building, but as years passed, it fell into decay. Murmurs of unexplained disappearances, strange noises in the dead of night, and unsettling encounters drove away its last tenants. The city marked it for demolition, but before it could be torn down, a violent storm raged through the area. Lightning split the sky, striking the building's foundation. The impact shook the earth, sending deep tremors through the abandoned halls, loosening floorboards, cracking walls, and exposing something beneath the basement that should have remained buried forever. A forgotten vault, hidden behind layers of stone and rusted chains, had been revealed. Strange symbols covered its metal surface, symbols that seemed to writhe in the flickering emergency lights. Something stirred inside. It had been waiting. Urban explorer Eric Holloway had been waiting for an opportunity to investigate the infamous Riverview Heights. He was obsessed with abandoned places, believing that every building had a hidden story beneath its ruins. His closest friends, Mark Dawson and Lisa Carver, joined him for what they thought would be another routine exploration. The basement was damp and smelled of mold and something foul, something that made Lisa gag. Mark, ever the skeptic, dismissed it as a dead rat. Their flashlights swept over rusted pipes, cracked tiles, and the vault. Lisa hesitated. Maybe we shouldn't. But Eric was already running his fingers over the symbols, feeling the cold metal beneath the grime. Mark found a strange, tattered book lying nearby, its leather cover stained and pulsating as if alive. Curiosity overpowered caution. He opened it, and the words moved across the pages, shifting like shadows in candlelight. Eric grinned. We have to read this. It could be an ancient ritual or something. Lisa shivered. Eric, no. But it was too late. Eric's lips parted, and he read the words aloud. A gust of frigid wind erupted from the vault, swirling around them. The symbols on the metal began glowing red, and an inhuman shriek filled the room. A sudden force threw them backward, their ears ringing as the book's pages flipped violently on their own. Then, silence. Something had awakened. That night, Eric returned home to his small apartment. The storm outside had settled, but his unease grew. The air in his room felt wrong, thick, suffocating. His reflection in the mirror moved independently, grinning when he wasn't. His walls seemed to breathe. Then the voices began. Eric, we see you, we hear you, let us in. A blackened hand slithered out from beneath his bed, its fingers elongated, stretching toward him. He screamed, stumbling back, but the hand was gone. Shadows moved in the corners of his vision. His own shadow twisted unnaturally, stretching up the walls, forming grotesque, clawed shapes. A soft, wet laughter filled the room. Then his body contorted violently. His spine arched unnaturally, his mouth twisted open in an unnatural grin, and his eyes darkened to voids of pure black. The demonic presence had taken root. The next morning, Lisa arrived at Eric's apartment, worried after he had stopped responding. She knocked. No answer. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the apartment was a nightmare. The walls were dripping with black sludge, moving like something alive. The air was thick with rot. And then, Eric. He was standing in the living room, his back to her. But something was wrong. His head twisted unnaturally, turning a full 180 degrees to face her while his body remained still. His grin was wide, too wide, his lips splitting open at the edges, revealing rows of jagged, almond needle-like teeth. Lisa stumbled back. Eric, he lunged. His arms elongated, his fingernails splitting into claws, and his voice came out in a deep guttural growl. We are legion, we are many. Lisa barely escaped, slamming the door behind her. But as she ran, she heard more laughter. From the walls, from the ceiling, from the shadows. The evil was spreading. Mark and Lisa tried to escape the building, but every exit had disappeared. The stairwells looped infinitely. The elevators were nothing but dark, bottomless pits. The walls pulsed, stretching like flesh, with human faces screaming from within them. The other residents were no longer human. A woman with empty eye sockets and a grin carved ear to ear scuttled across the ceiling, her spine snapping with every movement. A child with elongated fingers whispered in Mark's ear, "Run while you can." Before he could react, the child melted into black sludge, slipping through the cracks in the floor. The building was alive. It wanted them to stay. Mark found the cursed book once more, its pages now dripping with fresh blood. The answer was clear. One must willingly sacrifice themselves to seal the evil once more. Lisa refused. There has to be another way, but there wasn't. Mark, with one last glance at her, sliced his palm open, pressing his blood into the book's pages. The demons screamed, their bodies burning into ashes as the walls collapsed inward, swallowing the horrors whole. Weeks later, Lisa stood outside the ruins of Riverview Heights. The city had declared it off-limits, but she knew better. Beneath the rubble, hidden in the shadows, the book remained untouched. And in the distance, a soft, wet whisper echoed, "We will return."